Welcome to this demo. Today I will talk a little bit about the setup for Lab 2 and how to configure an administrative server. In Lab 1, you created an admin client machine that you were supposed to use to manage all the servers and clients. I ran into some problems with that. For some reason, there are some bugs. You can't use the Windows 10 client to manage 2012 servers fully properly. So I've switched to that you should use a Windows Server 2012 instead as an admin machine. But I will come to that. Okay, so this is the lab scenario for this lab. You're going to have the main part of this lab is to learn file servers, and you should both work with both Windows-based file server and Linux-based file servers. And as you see now, the networks has changed a bit. We have the internet, we have the router, and the two different LANs that are previously created for you. One is called DMZ, that stands for Demilitarized Zone, and here is usually where we put our servers that are supposed to be publicly accessed from the internet. So if one of these servers get hacked, they are not supposed to get access to machines in the local area network, the private network. So that's why we have two different networks. In the first lab, we only work with this one. Uh, So I think you can reuse machines, but you can also just delete the old machines and create this scenario. So what we will use these for, in the LAN, we have uh, one Windows client. This is Windows 10. That's not the admin machine anymore, so you should uh, probably delete that one. This only has a private IP, no floating IP. And then we have a file server, also private server, which runs Windows Server 2012 or 2. And then we have the Windows admin server, which will have a floating IP connected to it so that we can use remote desktop to connect to that machine from outside the internet. And the file server here will serve files for our local area network for the clients and other servers. And then we have the DMZ network. Here we have one file server and one, just should say one test server. I haven't renamed that one yet. So that we will only use in this lab to try to connect to the file server and see that we can get the right files. We will later on use the file server to host our static web pages for the web servers. So we will reuse this environment for later on in the course. Okay, so if these two networks are not connected and they are not able to contact each other, how do we use the admin machine now? Because we can't get to servers in this network directly. And this is what this demo is about. We also have another problem that we haven't addressed, and that's how if we are using Windows Server 2012 Core Edition, where we don't have any graphical interface, a lot of um, administrative tools that are available in the graphical interface are not available on the core version. And the core version has a lot of benefits. It's smaller, more secure. So I will encourage you to use the Windows Core for services, and especially for this file server. It's an easy task for a machine. So how do we administer that from the admin machine? Well, we can actually do that, but we have to set that up. So this is my setup as of now. You can see if we go to the compute and instances, I haven't done any real configuration on the machine. I only made sure that I have a account on them, an admin account with a complex password, and I set up the admin machine to have a floating IP, and on that I also have, let's see here, RDP enabled so that I could connect to that machine. So if we jump to that machine, here it is. And nothing more has been set up on this machines, just to see that the firewalls are up and what communication are not and are allowed. So we should be able to ping different machines, like one of the other machines in the local area network. I think it was 61 was the Windows client, and 58 is the file server. So you see we can contact these machines, but if I try to contact one of the machines on the DMC network, let's try this 53 machine. No ping will go through because we don't allow that traffic. So how should we be able to contact it? Well, we can use this security groups to manage this. And as I said in the previous video, the default usually used to have the ability to contact all the machines that were in this security group. And we won't. You shouldn't add all machines to one security group and allow that traffic, because then all machines can access each other from the different networks. We only want this administrator machine to be able to contact the different machines on the different networks. So to set this up, we will create a security group for administrators. So the first security group should be where we should put the administrator machines. So we could name that accordingly, admin machines or something like that. No, admin machine. And the only machines that should have this security group are the ones that will have access to all the other machines. So we won't put all machines in this one. We will then create a security group where we put all the machines that should be able to be accessed by this security group. Allow admin access. You can call it whatever you like. And in this, we will manage rules, and we will add the ability for all. Let's start with ICMP from a security group. So let's see how this looks. So all the machines that have this security group will allow incoming traffic for ICMP from this remote security group. So we need to add this for all the different protocols. So it's ICMP, TCP, and UDP. And it's the incoming. And we do that also for the UDP. So, as you can see, these rules are the same that are in the different networks security group that I pre-created, the DMC and the LAN. If you look at that, we have outgoing traffic is allowed, and then we allow incoming traffic from just the same network. So that will make it so that machines that are in this network will be able to contact each other. Okay, now we made these security groups, then we need to apply these to the different machines. So for all the machines that are supposed to be able to access by admin machines, we add edit security group and then allow admin access. This should be to all these machines. It should not be on the admin machines themselves, just the clients that are supposed to be able to be contacted from these machines. They should not be in this group, of course. So we add the machines from the DMC and then we have the one from the LAN. The only machine that is different is this administrator machine. This should be added to the admin machines. So if we would want another admin machine, we could just add that to that group and that security group, and then they will be able to contact all the clients and servers that they're supposed to. And this is allow admin access. So I hope you followed along. Let's see how it looks now if I try to ping one machines from the DMC. Well, that works. Good. If I would try to, I could contact one of my other machines and see so they are able to contact between the networks. I have my client here. And I could try to ping one machines in the DMC. 53. And as you see, that won't be allowed. But it should be able to contact other machines in the local area network, of course. So 20 and 58 was the file server, and that works. Great! Now we have created an administrative server, which are now able to contact the different networks. So if we would like to have more networks, we can just, it doesn't matter, or as long as they are in the different security groups, they should be able to contact them. But of course, the local firewall on the different machines also must allow this traffic that you want them to be able to access. So in this case, it's just the ICMP for the ping. Now that covers the first part. The second part was about how do we manage Windows Server Core from the Windows administrator machine. So if we go back, we have a lot of different tools to manage the servers. But the different tools that we use to manage the different services are not installed until we apply that service or the feature or the role on a server. And we don't want to install all the servers and roles features for the admin machine. We just want the tools to how to manage them. And we can add those administrative tools by adding a feature. So if we add a feature, It should be on this machine, and it's not a role, it's a feature. If we scroll down, we will see this remote server administrative tools. And there are quite a lot of different tools depending on what you want to administer. But the tools themselves do not take up that much space and are not that resource demanding. So we can install all of these different tools just by adding this. You need to add some other tools. It's okay. And then we just click next, and install. It would take a little bit. While this is going, you still need to be able to remote manage the different servers. So there are quite different steps to set that up on the server core. You need to allow the traffic through the firewall, and we can look at that meanwhile this is going. And so there is a good article on TechNet. TechNet is a really good resource if you want to know how and to manage servers and stuff with Windows. I will link this on the course homepage, of course. This is managing a server core server. And there are different ways how do you want to do it. If you want to do it with PowerShell, Server Manager, or MMC Snap-in. MMC Snap-in is what I would recommend. Where you will probably use remote desktop services also. That's how we're connected to the machine right now. And what we have installed are, you can say, these MMC snap-ins. So MMC is this management console for Windows where you can add in different administrative tools. So we installed all these different tools, but we need to have access to the machine. So I think this server manager would also be a good thing to have. It's more of a, yeah, it's this tool. You can see it in, yeah, this one. This is the server manager. So you could be able to add the servers here and to see them. Then you need to do some configuration for that. So we can look at that right now. I haven't tried this one out before, so it's new to me too. We can try to copy this command. This should be run on the core machine. So if we go back, just to see that we have the command, yes. And then we could add a new remote desktop to the core server. That's not the core server. This one is. And you need to run PowerShell to be able to do that. So we start up a new PowerShell connection. And then hopefully this command will do the things that we need. Server Manager is already enabled. Okay. Another thing that we wanted to do is use the MMC snap-in and the different tools there. What you need to do is that you need to, if you don't have the same username and password for the core machine that you have for the admin machine, you need to run this command and specify what admin, the account name that you want to use, and the password on this should be run on the admin machine. But I use the same name and password on the two different machines, so I don't think that I will need to do that. Another thing is allowing the traffic through the firewall on the core machine. And this first one here, it actually doesn't work. It should do that so that the all remote snapping should work, but it doesn't. The thing that we need to do is specify a specific rule group to enable. And I found it that the simplest way is to enable it for the firewall first, and then we can manage different rules remotely. That's much easier. So we will try to enable that on the core machine. Just copy this command and go to the core machine. And the important thing now is that you have the same username and password uh, for both the administrator machine and the core machine. So let me just grab my password. Then we go to the command again. And you have to run these commands in Windows PowerShell. So first you need to start up PowerShell. Type in the first part of the command, and then we need to set what we want to enable. And do like this. So if you want to check that this has been enabled because you don't get any output, you can, instead of enable, you can get the status of this firewall group, and you can see that it has now turned to enabled. Okay, so now we should be able to administer the firewall remotely. So we open up MMC, just Windows and R, the run command, and then you type MMC to open up the management console. And in this console, you can add different snap-ins. So if we go to File, Add and Remove Snap-in, then here we have a lot of different administrative tools. And these have been added when we installed the feature that I showed you before. So here down at the bottom, we have Windows Firewall. And when you add a snap-in, you can then choose the local computer or another. Here you just type in the IP address of the machine that you want to administer or manage. And then we can see that we are now connected to that remote machine. And here on out, it's easier to enable the different firewall rules that you need. You can add different snap-ins. You can have multiple. So you will, in this second lab, you will manage perhaps more storage on the server, different volumes and RAIDs. So you need to manage the virtual disk manager. And as you can see here, the disk management has a different rule set of firewall rules that you need to enable. And it also have that you need to have started a service. So I can show you how you do this. The first thing we need is to enable these firewall rules on the remote server. And these are the remote volume management group. And you see that this is actually 3 different rules that you need to have enabled. So we enable those. And we had to start that service. And I think we also need to enable remote service management. Otherwise, we won't be able to manage the different services on that other file server. So we enable those two on the incoming, and then we can add the snap-in services. So we add that, and we are going to connect to the file server. 60. Oh, that was a bit wrong. So, and we later on will connect to the disk management. But I want to show you another thing. We also need to edit some firewall rules on the admin machine. So I can add the firewall for the local machine. So I can show you that. Okay, so now we can go into services, and at the very bottom almost you have virtual disk. You see this service isn't running and it's not going to start up automatically. So we need to double click that and toggle automatic, and then it will start when the server starts, but you also need to start it like so. Then in your local firewall you also need to enable the remote uh, disk manager. Let's see, I think I've done that already. Yeah, but on your machine this shouldn't be enabled before, so you need to enable these three also. Now hopefully we can add that too. So here we have disk management, I think it's called disk management, and then we should connect to the file server. And hopefully this will work, and yes it does. And this will help you create RAID, but you have to read up on that yourself. So now we can manage the server remotely. You maybe have to enable different firewall rules depending on what you want to manage. So as we did services, we enable this one. For folder sharing, we need to enable file and printer sharing. So this page is quite good, but remember that if you try to run this, it won't work. The first one to enable all, it deprecated, so it's not in use anymore. So in our lab, we are going to have multiple volumes to and create a RAID. And to do that, we need to add more disks to the file server. So if we go to OpenStack again, I'm in the wrong project now. Yeah, this looks better. So we have this file server. We need to create volumes. And let's see, I don't remember if I can create a volume. No, I don't have any volumes in the right. So we need to go to volumes and then create volume. So a good name here should be what the disk is and where it's connected to. So Windows file server volume 01. So to be able, I think in the document you should have 3 volumes to create a RAID 5. So we'll have 3 different here. Excuse me. You don't have any source, you shouldn't have that. And the size, just go with 1 gigabyte so you don't use up a lot of space for no use. And I think it's only Nova that is the availability zone. And then we can create all 3 of these at the same time. Okay, didn't get the name. No. And now under instances we can attach these volumes. So we can then reload. We could be that we need to restart the machine. That's possible. I haven't tried this on before. We could. These MMCs are now a collection of different snap-ins. We want to have this all the time. We can just save the snap-in. Oh, sorry. I should, yeah, on the desktop. So if we close this one and then double click on it, it should connect to that. And now we see that we have 3 new disks to that machine. And you will at your own read up on how to create volumes and initialize disks. You need to bring them online and stuff like that. But that's more about the lab, and you will read up on that. So I think that's it for this demo. Now we can use this machine to administer the machines on the local area network and the LAN. And I haven't installed PuTTY yet, but you should be able to use SSH2 as the same way as I shown in the last video on this administrator server machine instead of the admin client that you used to in the first lab. So that's it. Good luck with the lab.